Ambassadors do such varied work, including building houses and building future leaders. On this particular day at the legendary Lily Sleeve Farm in Rivonia, two youngsters, Eric Derrida and Sizwe Mpofu Walsh, were convening a peace discussion under the auspices of the organization Inkulu Freehaid, a vehicle they use to deepen democracy.
I think the message we want to send is that young South Africans must realize it's not just about changing South Africa. What we can do with our democracy if we take it forward is actually be an example to the world a second time. The first time we were an example to the world, we had a peaceful constitutional transition. But now we need to show the world that democracy can change, democracy can evolve, and young people can be at the forefront of that. And then people from America and people from Britain and people from Kenya can look to South Africa and Africa for the next stage of democracy. And that's what we want to show the world and show young South Africans that they must think bigger than just the confines of their own country. It's about the world now.
I'm afraid it's about how we create that future. So the discussion is not just about talking. It's about how we leap our current thinking in terms of where the country is and really imagine where it should and can be. Today alone, the broadcast here on Peace Day reached about 18 million people around the world, where we had a discussion about solutions and the way forward. Inkulu Freehaid it's all about that. It's about the action. It's about how we engage ourselves in terms of where we are as a country, but also about how we reimagine that future.
They were backed by a South African giant who will also serve as a councillor at the 2013 summit at the Sandton Convention Centre in South Africa.
There are bigger things. You've got to build this country, build this nation. And you can do so because today the avenues that were closed to us. I mean, when we came into government, where was a black engineer? Where was a black pilot? Where were people who could run mines or industry? They were not there. Because under the apartheid regime, we couldn't go further than medicine or something like that, or lawyer. Everything is now open.
When South Africa started bidding to host the One Young World Summit, there were only about 10 local ambassadors doing great work in their communities. At this ambassador presentation in Sandton last week, the executive mayor of Johannesburg, who's also hosting the event, said there were more than 150 South Africans participating.
Very impressive resumes of people who at a young age have made a commitment to their own growth, but to the betterment and growth of society and humanity as a whole. The fact that you will be representing us at the One Young World Summit, I certainly am comfortable that we have sent the best amongst our young people to represent Johannesburg and South Africa next week.
A local telecommunications company with global reach said it was sponsoring delegates from every country where they have a footprint.
We are an African telecoms company. We operate in 22 countries across the continent and the Middle East. So it would be a nice idea for us to sponsor 1 or 2 delegates from all our operations.
And as one long-standing ambassador put it,
because One Young World is not just a summit where young people get to talk about changing the world. It's about action, where young people from all over the world are changing their communities today.
Some of the councillors this year include Richard Branson and Kofi Annan, who are expected to be at the opening ceremony this afternoon at the FNB Stadium in Soweto. For Morning Live, I'm Desiree Jauke.
It's too unstable and it's too unequal. All the big challenges.
Well, let's unpack this further now. Kate Robertson is standing by. She's the co-founder of the One Young World Summit, and she's with me in studio. A very good morning to you, Kate, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Remind us what you had in mind when you thought of starting One Young World.
It was frustration with old-style conferences, and it was really wanting to see what young people had to say, and also wanting to feel that excitement of a lot of young people together, because there's nothing like it. And also a sense from things like the Olympics, that when the whole world is together, you realize it's a human family and everybody's the same, and trying to hold on to that spirit and see if you could have those young leaders together and then add inspiration from some old ones as well.
Watching the insert, you and I were just chatting about how only a South African could have thought about this, and that those were your words. Why is that?
I think it's insane. You know, my husband always says the reason you're always so optimistic is because you were born in the sunshine. And I think that's something South Africans carry. And I also think in these days of the new Rainbow Nation, that optimism is a big thing. But I also do think it's a very South African thing that says, gee, that's an idea. Let's see if we can do it. And I think we're pretty unique in that. And maybe that's what's carried me through. It's just about killed me, but hey, I'm here.
That tenacity, that resilience. And you're doing a great job. Are you pleasantly surprised by how it's grown in leaps and bounds?
I'm overwhelmed. And my co-founder, David Jones, that I work for, is a lot younger than I am. So it's politic for me to believe in what young people can do. But I think both of us, looking at the setup from the city of Johannesburg, Soccer City tonight, the lineup of councillors, and the fact that it's so exciting. We've got 190 countries coming, and a call out here to Brand South Africa and to the South African government for giving us, in these difficult times, a visa waiver for 190 countries. It's more countries than any other gathering in the world than the Olympics.
My goodness, logistically, that's a big job, and I see why you're saying that it's just about driving you over the edge. Talk us through how South Africans have received this and the preparations and how we've opened up our doors to facilitate this.
Well, the Johannesburg City put in a fantastic bid. And I, being me, I was terribly keen for them to win it, and I had to resolve myself saying, you know, admitting bias, but it was a winning bid. The only thing I was concerned about was the visa issue, because that is very difficult. We went to the States last year. It was even more difficult going to the States. And Miller Matola from Brand South Africa, I spoke to him. He was traveling with President Zuma in Oslo at the time. It's 2 years ago. And I said, what can you do? And they said, we'll help. So yesterday and today at Oliver Tambo, there's a special immigration channel for One Young World. So they were fantastic with that. But equally, the ideas of the city, the breakout sessions at places like Liliesfontein, at Constitutional Hill, the opening ceremony at Soccer City, can you imagine how exciting that is? And also the advisory board under Nolita Fakude from Sasol. You saw Rick and Kondo from MTN in your outtake there. The advisory board have broken their backs to reach out to young leaders all over the world, from disadvantaged communities, from all sectors, and really showing South Africa as the inclusive society it has amazingly become.
We are extremely under pressure as far as time is concerned, but I must just ask you as we wrap as briefly as possible, with a conference of this nature, there's always the risk that it will be a once-off talk show, a talk shop that will have no long-lasting effects. But taking a look at the caliber of the youngsters and the networking skills, what happens after the event?
Well, since the inception of One Young World, which is just 3 years, they've directly impacted 4.6 million people worldwide, and that's on a conservative estimate. Their projects range from the political, like in Kulu Free Hate, to social businesses all over the world. It's now nearly 800 projects worldwide. And really, we're starting to have our first batch of elected MPs and congressmen and people running for office all over the world. A lot of them starting their own companies. That's the work of One Young World.
We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much, and all the best for the opening ceremony at FNB Stadium in Soweto today. Thank you for joining us. Kate Robinson from One Young World.